Part 137. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 1361. Chapter 1361. Friendship between women is amazing too. Murong 11 smiled and took the hand off his forehead. I'm serious, and that's what I mean. I won't take back what I taught you before. After all, it's true that you hurt him, although there are other hidden reasons. I know that I'm not qualified to judge between you, but I just hope if you still have a chance to be together in the future, please don't hurt him. If you hurt him again, I may scold you even worse, or even make you cry. I cried. There is a row of black lines on Jian Yuman's forehead. What? I'm dissatisfied. No, Jian Yuman shook her head quickly and smiled brightly. Don't worry, I will never give you a chance to scold me again. Before you scold me, I will wipe my neck and commit suicide. He. Jian Yuman laughed heartlessly, which made Murong 11 feel helpless. I really don't know why Yuj falls in love with you. Because I'm beautiful, Jian Yuman touched her delicate face and looked pretty. Murong 11 stared at Jian Yuman's face and sighed deeply. I can't compare to you except for my face. I'm obviously better than you in other aspects. It seems that Yuj really belongs to the Appearance Association. Murong 11's humorous words made Jian Yuman burst into laughter, and the atmosphere between the two daughters changed inexplicably. Jian Yuman was actually very embarrassed when facing Murong 11 before. Unexpectedly, this conversation would actually bring him and the two closer to each other. The atmosphere between Tangyuj and Wang Tianyu in the distance is also very subtle. With this opportunity arranged by Jian Yuman, Tangyuj naturally would not give up getting along with his younger brother. Wang Tianyu sat down and raised his pole, and Tangyuj also sat next to him. Wang Tianyu stood up and moved to a new place unhappily, and Tangyuj followed him. After changing it 3 times, Wang Tianyu chose to give up and let him go. Tangyuj sat down and sat down. You are so annoying, Wang Tianyu sighed, feeling hopeless and wishing he could dive into the water. It's boring to fish alone, Tangyuj smiled gently. At this moment, he was very much like when they were children. He was always naughty and disliked his brother's verbosity, while Tangyuj always smiled gently and was tirelessly verbose. Wang Tianyu didn't give Tangyuj a good look. He pretended to be a piece of wood and sat on the bank, keeping his eyes on the fishing rod. After Tangyuj sat down, he spoke more unconsciously. Looking at the calm lake, he suddenly felt emotional. I remember the last time we fished, it was already 15 years ago. I didn't expect that I could continue to sit and fish with you. Are you an elderly person? You talk so much, but you still remember the past, especially fishing, which is a favorite entertainment activity for the elderly. Then let's talk about young people. I don't want to talk. You will scare away my fish. If you think there will be no fish at noon, Man Fei will kick him into the lake. Tangyuj's eyes flickered, and his eyes fell on Wang Tianyu, who pursed his lips and formed a protective wall in front of him. You actually haven't changed at all in all these years. Haha, really? You didn't see how ruthless I was. I used to be naughty and didn't even dare to kill a chicken. Now haha, all my changes are thanks to you, Wang Tianyu said. With sarcasm, his eyes darkened, thinking about his life in the past 10 years, and his emotions became agitated. I won't talk to you about this, but are you really going to let Manman go? End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 1362. Chapter 1362. I want to pursue Manman. I'm not going to talk to you about this, but are you really going to let Manman go? Wang Tianyu interrupted Tangyuj's follow-up words. No matter what he said, he didn't want to hear it. Instead, the conversation focused on Jian Yuman. This is my private matter. Tanyuj didn't want to talk about Jian Yuman at all. Wang Tianyu curled his lips and sneered. Looking at your attitude, you don't want to get back together, do you? No, Tanyuj answered decisively and without hesitation. She and I have completely separated. That's good. Wang Tianyu raised his eyebrows and smiled. Just when the fish took the bait, his mood became better. Tanyuj was stunned for a few seconds, looking meaningfully at Wang Tianyu, who was smiling, his eyes flickering, and he didn't even notice that his own fish was hooked. What do you mean by what you said? What do you mean? Wang Tianyu threw the hook and looked at the blue sky. It means I have a chance. You don't know how to deal with Manman. That's right. I like her and am ready to pursue her. Otherwise, why do you think I would agree to hang out with her? In fact, I don't want to have a harmonious relationship with you at all. I just want some opportunities to change Manman's mind about me. Rather than saying that she is using me to please you, it is better to say that I am using you to spend more time with her. I didn't expect you to like her. Tanyuj's hand holding the fishing rod became stronger, and the expression on his face was still pretending to be chatting about normal things. Actually, I have liked her for a long time. It may even go back to when I was a child, but you and her were always together at that time, so I didn't dare to think too much about it. When I grew up, because I wanted to take revenge on you, I had a very bad image in her mind. In fact, I have regretted it very much in the past few years. I finally had the opportunity to repair my relationship with her, so I will not let it go. Wang Tianyu is very calm and his purpose is very clear. Since you two have completely broken up, you probably won't mind that I might be your child's stepfather. Wang Tianyu curled his lips and looked at Tanyuj, who had eaten all the bait and had no reaction, and felt sarcastic in his heart. You are still pretending not to care even though you clearly care about it. Tanyuj, your ability to pretend needs to be improved. I have broken up with her, and I have no right to interfere with whoever she marries again. Tanyuj pretended to smile indifferently and slowly replenished the fishing rod with bait. I feel relieved with your words. Wang Tianyu looked at Jian Yuman, who was walking towards them not far away. Since you have always wanted to repair the relationship with me, I will put aside my bold words. One day Manman and I get married, I will forgive you. So, you want me to help you? Tanyuj shook his hand, hanging on one side, feeling irritated in his heart. That's right. What, you don't want to? Wang Tianyu's eyes narrowed slightly. What are you willing to do? Jian Yuman walked up behind them and asked with a smile. Oh. I said I wanted to be the godfather of my child, and I was asking him if he was willing. Wang Tianyu changed the topic and did not mention what they were talking about just now, but he kept paying attention to Tanyuj's reaction from the corner of his eye. Daddy, are you dreaming? Jian Yuman pushed Wang Tianyu in disgust. I was kind to you by not beating you to death. You caused me and Ruru to be separated for so many years, and you still want to be Ruru's godfather when you are the chief culprit. How fanciful. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1363. Chapter 1363, Falling into the Water. Wang Tianyu moved his position unhappily and refused to get too close to Tanyuj and Jian Yuman. He was actually disliked. If it's not appropriate, then it's inappropriate. Maybe one day he will become a stepfather, and it doesn't matter if he is not a godfather. Jian Yuman glanced at Tanyuj, who had been fishing indifferently, raised an eyebrow at Wang Tianyu, and blinked. Received Jian Yuman's disgusted look, Wang Tianyu sighed deeply, reluctantly put away the fishing tools, and moved some distance away, until he was more than 10 meters away from them. Wang Tianyu left the room, and Jian Yuman sat next to Tanyuj with a smile on her face, squatting on the ground and looking at the fishing rod with her chin propped up. "Mr. Tang, why didn't you catch any fish?" "Have no idea. You are so indifferent, I'm so used to it," a little aggrieved. Tang Yuj remained silent. "Mr. Tang, are you tired of pretending to be cool? Don't be like this. You haven't paid much attention to me today. Even if we can't be husband and wife, can't we even be friends?" Qian Yuman pouted, her eyes glued to his face, a little sad. Tang Yuj sighed. "I do not know what to say." "Then you listen to me." The smile on Qian Yuman's face became bright. As long as she didn't ignore her on purpose, she could accept it calmly. "The water is so clear, I really want to go for a swim." Qian Yuman spread her hands and put them into the cold lake water. It was obviously May and the weather was getting hotter. "Danger. Do you care about me, so happy?" Qian Yuman's smile became very bright and sweet just because of the word Tang Yuj. She held her face with wet hands and looked at Tang Yuj's profile in fascination. "Still so handsome. No matter how many times I watch it, I never get tired of it." Qian Yuman was chattering at the side, and Tang Yuj didn't chase her away. He fished in silence and occasionally answered a few of her questions. After a while, the fat fish were hooked one by one, and she happily counted the lunches while holding the bucket. Not far away, Wang Tianyu also caught a lot of fish. The two brothers were not slow in catching fish. In less than 20 minutes, they caught enough to feed a group of them for a day. "Go back." Tang Yuj stood up, collected the fishing rod, and slowly collected the fishing line. "Okay," Qian Yuman said happily. She picked up the fish bucket and stood up unsteadily. The fish kept flapping in the water, causing her face to be covered with water. "I'll do it." Tang Yuj put away the fishing rod and took the bucket from Qian Yuman. "I can do it." Qian Yuman jumped on the spot to show that she was extremely powerful. Her strength was very small before, but since she had little Mickey, she always had to carry him away. Gradually, her strength has increased a lot. She can barely hold the bucket with the fish in it. However, no matter how much she exercised, her strength was still a little weak. She staggered for 2 steps, stepped on a stone, lost her balance, and fell towards the lake. Tang Yuj was walking in front and heard Qian Yuman's exclamation behind him. When he turned around, he saw her whole body falling into the lake together with the bucket. Tang Yuj was shocked and it was too late to reach out. Just when he was about to jump off, Qian Yuman, who had fallen into the water, came out of the water and greeted Tang Yuj with a smile. "Mr. Tang. If you don't come up yet, won't you be cold in the water?" Tang Yuj lectured with a cold face. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1364. Chapter 1364 Drowning 1. Just now he saw Qian Yuman fall into the water, and he almost jumped in too, but after a while he realized that she could swim and there was no need for him to jump into the water to save her. Qian Yuman splashed twice in the water and played with the water with a smile. "It's not cold. The water here is a bit sweet. It's ice cold and feels so comfortable. Come up quickly, don't catch a cold." Tang Yuj stood on the shore and waved to her, asking her to come ashore quickly. Qian Yuman pouted and raised her fingers at Tang Yuj. "You come down and play too. Stop being naughty." "No," Qian Yuman shook her head, the smile on her face getting brighter. Although Tang Yuj was frowning and not unhappy at the moment, she understood that he was worried about her and that she was in danger in the water. Although they were reproaches, they were words of concern, which made her heart feel sweet. "Come up quickly. This is different from a swimming pool." Tang Yuj's face turned cold and his tone was serious. Qian Yuman pouted and swam toward the shore with her hands. The expression on her face was still very happy and sweet. Now even Tang Yuj's caring words can make her very happy, which shows that he still cares about her and cares about her, which is better than ignoring her before. When Jian Yuman fell into the water, Wang Tianyu dropped his fishing rod and ran over. He even started taking off his shoes and clothes on the shore. "What are you doing?" Tangyu stretched out his hand to stop Wang Tianyu from jumping into the water. "Go down and play with Manman." "You're not allowed to go." Tangyu felt a little dizzy, and he felt like going back to his childhood. At that time, both Wang Tianyu and Jian Yuman were very naughty, especially Wang Tianyu. When the two of them were together, nothing good would ever happen, and they would only do bad things in some corner. He always has to clean up the mess behind them. Sometimes, like now, one is very naughty, and the other one sees it and joins in enthusiastically, unable to stop him. Don't be so disappointed. It's rare to see such a crystal clear lake. It won't hurt if you go down there. Wang Tianyu continued to take off his shirt and was about to jump off, but Tangyu grabbed his pants. "If you jump down, I will take off your pants right now and let you run naked." Wang Tianyu tilted his mouth and shook his head. "Don't be so cruel." Jian Yuman, who was still in the lake, could not control her emotions for a long time and started laughing and laughing. "Come up yet?" Tangyu gave Jian Yuman a cold look. The little woman pouted and reluctantly swam to the shore. Suddenly, Jian Yuman's expression changed. She did not continue swimming to the shore, but stopped in the distance. Her body kept moving slightly, and her feet seemed to be entangled in water plants. "Manman, stop pretending, you worked hard enough not to come up." Wang Tianyu didn't see anything wrong with Jian Yuman, and still laughed at her on the bank for her lack of acting skills. Tangyu's eyes immediately turned to her feet, and indeed he saw something like waterweed beside her feet, and his face instantly turned foul. "Damn it!" Tangyu jumped into the water without taking off his clothes. Jian Yuman in the water pumped her feet uncomfortably. Her strength gradually gave out and her body gradually sank. Wang Tianyu's smile froze on his face, and then he also jumped into the water. 3 people jumped into the water in a row, which also attracted the attention of others. 2 little guys had already ran over quickly. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1365. Chapter 1365 Drowning 2. 3 people jumped into the water in a row, which also attracted the attention of others. 2 little guys had already ran over quickly. Murong 11 took the lead and hugged the 2 little guys, staying away from the shore to prevent them from getting closer. Mommy little Mickey struggled to rush over. At only 3 years old, he realized that something bad was happening, but Ruru didn't understand yet, so she clapped her hands and wanted to join in. Jian Yuman was only 3 meters away from the shore. By the time Tangyu swam over, she had already sunk into the water and her body was still struggling. Tangyu, who was close to Jian Yuman, quickly got into the water and sank to the bottom. He came to her feet and calmly removed the water plants from her feet little by little. Wang Tianyu swam over and brought Jian Yuman's head out of the water. Jian Yuman, who drank several sips of water in a row, passed out and his face turned pale with fright. "Manman, wake up, Manman, wake up quickly, don't scare us." Tangyu, who finally pulled out all the water plants under Jian Yuman's feet, got out of the water and saw Jian Yuman's face was pale, her eyes were closed, and she looked lifeless. The blood all over her body froze, and she shouted hoarsely, "Get ashore quickly!" Tangyu snatched Jian Yuman away from Wang Tianyu and swam quickly to the shore. Wang Tianyu was stunned for a second, then he pursed his lips and swam quickly to the shore. With the joint efforts of Tangyu and Wang Tianyu, Jian Yuman was finally rescued from the water and dragged to the shore. Jian'er, Tangyu held her head and gently slapped her face. Looking at her pale face, his voice was trembling when he called her. Why is her body so cold? He was obviously still breathing, and he could still feel his pulse beating, but why was his body so cold? She was clearly in his arms, but why did it seem that the person he was holding was not her, but another dead thing? The accident took less than a minute before and after. To him, this short minute seemed like a century. Tanyuj, let go of Manman quickly and take first aid measures, Wang Tianyu shouted angrily. Tanyuj, who suddenly regained consciousness, laid Qian Yuman down on the ground and gently pressed her belly. After only 2 presses, Qian Yuman spit out the water in her mouth and gradually woke up. She didn't drink much water, but she choked a little. She woke up soon, opened her eyes and saw a group of people surrounding her. Little Mickey was so frightened that he started crying and lay on her lap. Crying, although Ruru didn't know what to do, she saw her brother crying sadly and started to cry too. "What are you doing?" "I'm fine, I just drank a few water." Qian Yuman showed a weak smile. "A mouthful of water? Do you know that you are already unconscious? I told you a long time ago, but why don't you listen? Do you think you can swim in the lake just because you know how to swim? There are so many unknown dangers underwater. Don't stop me. Something happened. You almost lost your life. If you don't listen to me next time, I won't care about you if something happens." Tanyuj started to lecture with a dark face. After being scolded by Tanyuj, Qian Yuman's eyes quickly turned red, and she let out a wow and played a trio with her son and daughter. "Why are you so mean? I just deliberately spoke to you in a calm tone. In fact, I was scared to death. I really thought I was going to die when I was in the water with you. The tears are like opening a valve and can't stop." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1366. Chapter 1366. The relationship has improved. 1. The more she cried, the sadder she became, especially when she woke up and instead of being cared for, she was scolded by Tanyuj for a while. She felt aggrieved too. "Okay. Woo woo woo. Okay, okay, I won't scold you anymore." Tanyuj was still in a daze. The thing happened so suddenly, he was also frightened, and he couldn't control his tone of voice and was cruel to her. Qian Yuman's hands were like snakes, wrapping around Tanyuj's waist, then hugging him tightly and burying her face in his wet chest. Although she was wet, she felt warm in her heart at this moment. He is nervous about himself. Tanyuj sighed slightly, took her body into his arms, and held her tightly. Thinking of the moment he saw her drowning and her lifeless appearance when she was pulled up, his body couldn't stop trembling. Afraid, deeply afraid, even more afraid than when I broke up with her. Even when I pretended that she jumped into the river, it had never frightened him so much. After all, he only saw the moment before her death, and just now it was as if he was holding her body, which was cold and bone deep. This was the first time that he saw her so cold and lifeless in his arms. At that moment, everything seemed so unimportant. Feeling the crying and coquettish behavior of the woman in his arms, the coldness in his eyes broke a little bit. "My Mr. Tang, my brother Wang, my sugar baby, do you know how scared I was when I thought I was going to die just now? Don't mention the word death to me," Tanyuj lectured in a cold voice. Qian Yuman pouted, her heart became warmer, and she insisted on saying everything she wanted to say. "I was really scared. I thought I would never be able to hold you like this again. I thought I was going to leave you completely." "No, you are not doing well now." Qian Yuman raised her little face, looking into her cold and soft eyes that were about to open. She was laughing and crying at the same time, looking very funny. "I really, really regret the harm I did to you, and I also regret not trusting you. And when something happened, I would run away like a quail. I promise you that I will never do this again." What's the matter? Just be brave and ask the truth in person, even if the result is painful for me. Can you please stop being so cold to me? Tanyuj sighed leisurely, with a slight arc at the corner of his mouth, and responded with some helplessness. Good. You don't know, I thought I was going to die. When I thought about it, you were still angry with me and didn't pay much attention to me before you died. Did you agree? Qian Yuman blinked, thinking that she heard wrongly. She still had one more question. I have a lot to say. He replied decisively that he would forgive her, and asked her to prepare what she wanted to say later. She didn't know whether to say it or not. Tanyuj looked at Qian Yuman's eyes and spoke seriously. Yes, I forgive you for hurting me, and I will no longer be indifferent to you. Really? Qian Yuman's eyes suddenly shone brightly, and everything seemed to happen suddenly. She felt that the whole world had become so beautiful, and a drowning made him forgive herself. Oh my gosh! So happy, drowning is so good. As long as Tanyuj forgives himself, it doesn't matter if he drowns a few more times. Qian Yuman grabbed Tanyuj's collar excitedly, the brightness in her eyes could blind someone. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1367. Chapter 1367. The relationship has improved too. Qian Yuman grabbed Tanyuj's collar excitedly, the brightness in her eyes could blind someone. Are you really going to get back together with me? Am I not dreaming? She was ready for the relationship between the two to continue to be awkward for a while, and then use her perseverance to slowly make Tanyuj accept herself and understand her changes. I didn't expect that this day would come so quickly. This is such a surprise. She said, how could he be so cruel and could not bear to do anything to himself? It turned out that he was just proud. But Tanyuj saw Qian Yuman's smile getting brighter and brighter, and couldn't help but interrupt her. But there's more, I had a bad feeling in my heart. Don't think too much about it. Just because I forgive your hurt doesn't mean that I want to get back together with you. I don't care, I don't care. You are not allowed to ignore me anymore, and you are not allowed to be my friend. I don't want to be your friend. She wanted to be his wife and his lover. Qian'er, you are so smart, you should understand why I won't get back together with you. Tanyuj sighed again. He sighed more times in the past few days than he did in the past year. I understand, but she didn't want to understand. She said, how could Mr. Tang agree to get back together with her so decisively? As expected, the road to reconciliation was very long. He said the reason why he didn't agree to get back together, and she understood it. Trust, these two words cannot be said with words but can become reality. Tanyuj understands, and so does Qian Yuman. After this incident, they both understood that the other person was still very important in each other's hearts. But this does not mean that the problem is solved. There is a lack of trust between them. In Tanyuj's eyes, Qian Yuman still doesn't love him deeply enough. He doesn't dare to gamble, and he is afraid to work on this relationship again. In his eyes, being friends is the best choice at the moment, and it is more suitable than a couple who is forced to stay together. Qian'er, let's just be friends. No, Qian Yuman shook her head quickly, unwilling to do so. I don't want to be friends. If you don't want to be my sugar baby, at least you have to be my brother Wang, my little sugar baby. At least when she was brother Wang, she could still cling to him, dominate him, and become the most precious little sweetheart in his heart. Don't be friends. Friends can't get tired of being together, can't be pampered by him, can't be held in the palm of his hand. With another sigh, Tanyuj gently tucked the wet hair from her forehead behind her ears. Okay. I am still your brother Wang. Qian Yuman's eyes started to fall again after she finally held it back, and she buried her face in his arms. It's okay, take your time. She is his little sweetie now, and he will become her sugar baby again in the future. She will use time to prove her epiphany. But after experiencing the drowning incident, she had already looked away. Even if it was just Brother Wang in the end, she was satisfied, at least his attitude was no longer cold. Wang Tianyu and Murong 11 had already led little Mickey and his sister away, leaving them a separate space to talk. Looking at the man and woman hugging each other over there, Murong 11's eyes were full of envy. Lovers can never let go of each other. Aren't you jealous? Why don't you go and grab it? Wang Tianyu's eyes fell on Ruru, feeling a little depressed. Then why don't you go and grab it? Murong 11 asked without answering. Me, of course I will, just not now. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1368. Chapter 1368. The relationship has improved 3. Me? Of course I will, just not now. Wang Tianyu was very calm and did not hide his feelings for Qian Yuman. If he likes her, he likes her, not to mention that she is single now. A graceful lady, a gentleman is fond of quarrels. I think it's hard for you to get it. Murong 11 smiled faintly and looked at the interaction between Qian Yuman and Tang Yuj. With her understanding of Tang Yuj, she can see many things more clearly than Wang Tianyu. The interaction between Tang Yuj and Qian Yuman actually showed a lot. They were still a couple. The way they looked at each other could deceive them, but not her, an outsider. Really? I don't think so. Wang Tianyu smiled confidently and rubbed his hands gently. There are very few things that he cannot succeed in. Once he decides on something, he will try his best to do it, even at any cost. Just want to win her heart. Can you succeed by any means? He doesn't know either, just let nature take its course. This time when they went out to play, they had brought a change of clothes, so they were well prepared. The drowning incident did not affect their mood. On the contrary, the atmosphere was much more harmonious than at the beginning, at least between Qian Yuman and Tang Yuj. Interactions are no longer awkward. At noon, there are some small dishes besides grilled fish, and several people gather together to eat. Murong 11 served Ruru to eat, and little Mickey didn't need Qian Yuman's help as he ate deliciously by himself. Qian Yuman squeezed next to Tang Yuj, her eyes occasionally falling on Tang Yuj's handsome face with a gentler expression. Mr. Tang, I want to eat fish. Her hands were still busy grilling the fish and she couldn't take her hands off to eat the fish. Tang Yuj glanced at her busy hands. Eat if you want. Tell him what to do. So stupid. Qian Yuman complained inwardly, but smiled brightly on the surface. You feed me. You see I'm busy roasting and I'm a little overwhelmed. You take out the fish bones and feed it to me. Tang Yuj glanced at the grilled fish on the plate, and then looked at Qian Yuman's greedy look. Brother Wang, Qian Yuman cooed in a coquettish voice, pouting her little mouth. When I was a child, you would always help me remove fish bones and feed them to me. You obviously just promised me to become my favorite Brother Wang, and it wasn't long ago. Okay, I'll just feed you. Tang Yuj smiled helplessly, shook his head helplessly, and handed the fish meat with the fish bones removed to her mouth. Qian Yuman opened his mouth to take the delicious fish meat into his mouth, chewing it slowly. It's so delicious. It's the best thing I've ever eaten in my life. The delicious Qian Yuman squinted her eyes and felt the delicious taste of her taste buds. So happy, and delicious. I don't know if it's because she's good at her craftsmanship or because it's Mr. Tang who feeds her. I still want to eat. Qian Yuman's bright eyes stared at the fish on Tang Yuj's plate, smiling coquettishly. This time Tang Yuj dipped the grilled fish in tomato sauce and handed it to her mouth. It tastes better this way. Qian Yuman opened her mouth happily and ate again. The grilled fish tasted sweet and sour, it was really delicious. Qian Yuman roasted another one and put it directly on his plate. Mr. Tang, you eat too. Tang Yuj himself took a bite, and then Qian Yuman was like a greedy puppy, Asking for something to eat? The scene of the two of them feeding me and me feeding you made Wang Tianyu unhappy. Hey, 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 don't go too far. He walked to Qian Yuman's side. I can feed you too. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1369. Chapter 1369. Lovely Ruru. Wang Tianyu squeezed in between two people and didn't let them kiss each other in broad daylight. Do you think they are just air? Qian Yuman glared at Wang Tianyu with resentful and vicious eyes, narrowing her eyes dangerously. Wang Tianyu, don't you think you are redundant? Why am I superfluous? I can feed you too. Wang Tianyu also removed the fish bones and fed them to Qian Yuman's mouth. I don't want to eat what you feed me, just go away, it's superfluous and too much of a hindrance. Little Mickey on the side came over, tugged at the hem of Wang Tianyu's clothes, and blinked innocently. Uncle Wang, feed me. I almost got stuck on a fish bone just now. Go to your dad, didn't you see that I want to feed your mommy? Wang Tianyu waved his hand and drove away little Mickey. But why? Daddy is obviously feeding my mommy. Why would you, an uncle, help my mommy? Little Mickey stared at Wang Tianyu with a humbly seeking advice, and did not move away, just to pester him. That's right. My little Mickey's daddy feeds little Mickey's mommy. Why do you, an outsider, have a hand in it? Qian Yuman covered her mouth and snickered. Looking at Wang Tianyu's interesting expression, she wanted to quibble with the child. It seems childish for a 3-year-old to quibble. Mr. Tang, I'm thirsty. I want to drink juice. Qian Yuman ignored Wang Tianyu and looked at Tang Yuj with a smile on his face. Tang Yuj went to get the juice, and Wang Tianyu came to Qian Yuman's side and complained dissatisfiedly. What are you doing? Have you reconciled with him? No. Without reconciliation, why are you showing off your affection? Mr. Tang has always been very kind to me. But you, have you changed your gender today? You have been clinging to me, and I told you to help me get back together with Mr. Tang. How can I get along with him if you pester me? Get out of here, go aside. Qian Yuman waved his hand in disgust at this annoying guy. Ho, don't you understand, he liked him, but of course he didn't want to watch her reconcile with Tang Yuj. What do I know? All I know now is that you stay away from me, don't disturb me and Mr. Tang, and go and help me take care of my son. Qian Yuman raised her foot and kicked Wang Tianyu mercilessly. Wang Tianyu bared his teeth at Qian Yuman, sighed, looked up to the sky, and held little Mickey aside. Okay, let him take care of the baby. Tang Yuj, who had left and returned, came over with a glass of juice, handed it to her mouth, held the straw and stuffed it into Qian Yuman's mouth. Ruru, who was half-fed by Murong 11, trotted up to them and looked at Qian Yuman and Tang Yuj. Mommy, I want grilled chicken wings. I just ate one that was so delicious, I want to eat it again, Ruru said excitedly, pointing to the chicken wings on the side. Okay, wait a moment. Qian Yuman's smile became even brighter when she heard Ruru calling her mommy. Under little Mickey's brainwashing, Ruru has become very skilled at calling Qian Yuman mommy. Whenever she wants to eat delicious food, she will call her mommy sweetly. Qian Yuman is so excited when she hears that she wants to call her mommy once. Just hold her in your arms and kiss her once. Ruru dangled her hands and stood aside expectantly, waiting for the grilled chicken wings. Her beautiful eyes were fixed on the scene of Tang Yuj feeding Qian Yuman fish, and she tilted her head in confusion. Mommy, what are you doing? Your daddy is feeding me, Qian Yuman said with a sweet and happy smile. Mommy doesn't know how to eat, does she need to be fed by her like Ruru? Ruru blinked her innocent eyes. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1370. Chapter 1370 Tempting Mr. Tang 4. Mr. Tang, open the door quickly. If you don't open the door, I will freeze to death at the door, starve to death, or die anyway. Qian Yuman kept banging on the door, banging hard, and someone next door opened the door. Roared at Qian Yuman. Stop knocking on the door in the middle of the night, you are disturbing my sleep. Qian Yuman stopped knocking on the door and looked innocently at the female guests in other rooms. The female guest glanced up and down at Qian Yuman. She had not put on her bathrobe properly and her pajamas were exposed. She did not look like a normal woman. The world has changed. Are women so shameless? Knocking on men's doors in the middle of the night. She remembered that there was a very handsome man living next door. Hey, what do you mean? What do you mean by shamelessness? What do you know about the emotions between us husband and wife? Qian Yuman roared, dissatisfied. It was her fault to disturb her sleep, but was it so unpleasant? Talking about you. You knock on a man's door while dressed in a shabby manner and say he's your husband. Do you want face? The female guest twitched her lips in disgust and looked at Qian Yuman with disdain. Just my husband, just my husband, just my husband. You are a stranger, ah. Before Qian Yuman could get enough of the scolding, the door opened and her arm was pulled into the room. Tang Yuj looked at the female guest next door with a cold face. My woman, I don't need you to meddle in my own business. Turn back to the room and close the door again. Qian Yuman was in the room, blinking her big bright eyes, looking at Tang Yuj, who was even more handsome at the moment. Your woman. Qian Yuman lowered her head shyly and twisted the corners of her clothes. So happy, so happy. Mr. Tang was defending her. He was reluctant to be slandered by strangers and told others that she was his woman. Ouch. So shy. Tang Yuj coughed awkwardly. Don't get me wrong, I just said that because I was afraid that you would be misunderstood by others as a bad woman. A woman who is neither good nor bad. Qian Yuman had a dark look on her face, but if she thought about it carefully, her behavior was indeed easily misunderstood. In Mr. Tang's heart, doesn't he also think that she is a bad woman? Mr. Tang, do you also think I am shameless? Qian Yuman held her mouth in frustration, looking like she was about to cry. No, no. Seeing that Qian Yuman was about to cry, Tang Yuj quickly comforted her. How can you be such a shameless woman? You are my favorite little sweetheart. Not the most beloved wife, disappointed. It's all your fault for opening the door so late and causing me to meet a bitch. I was even insulted. Didn't I ask you to go back to your room? Tang Yuj sighed helplessly, gently stroking her hair with his hand, just like he did when he was a child, comforting her when she was depressed. I didn't bring my room card, so I came to you because I had no choice. Qian Yuman felt so wronged. Tears are about to fall. Don't you know how to go to the front desk to open the door for you without your room card? Forward. I didn't expect it. Qian Yuman stuck out her tongue. Actually, she had thought of it, but she had to pretend that she didn't think of anything and just came to stay. Mr. Tang, I don't want to go down, so just let me rest in your room for one night. We will definitely stop causing trouble and joking with you. Just take me in. Qian Yuman jumped up and lay on the bed. He quickly got into bed, lay down flat, closed his eyes and fell asleep. Get up. Tang Yuj grabbed the quilt and pulled it away. End of this chapter.